Now, every animal, I don't know why they said animals for me to bring, well, then I brought animals, so that's what it is. You could have asked for butterflies, and we got them. We got everything there is. I haven't got those beautiful things like Patty had on last night. They were absolutely booked. Those blue girls, blue, pink, and everything else girls were moving and dancing, and then as puppets ought to do, only a little better. Well, now, you see a cat up here. We always make a drawing first. That is the cat that performed in Art Carney Meets Peter and the Wolf. Now, I can ask you to, later on, to come up and look at any of these things you may want to see. It just happens that that cat, you can pretty well see what the joints are like. Now, I wonder if I can take this with me.
Slide it forward.
No, it...
Slide down.
Oh, that'll help. Thank you very much. Now, you see here, the head is an ordinary scholastic head, but when we get to here, this part of the body is a foam rubber, just whittled out with a pair of scissors neck, and there's a chain in there. The chain goes to an important part in the head. It should be in a central part of the head so that when it's moved, it moves all around equally from the center. And then the chain goes down here and anchors at a point inside, because all this rubber does is go up and down. This was the cat that chased the bird up and down the tree in Art Carney Meets Peter and the Wolf, and he had several other things to do. These joints here are simply wood. Those are all wood. Later on he gets covered. I've got him over here. He seemed to go over the trip fairly well, and I'll bring him out and show him to you. This is a rubber tail covered with cloth, and there the body was sawed out this way, like this piece, all the way around, piece of whitewood. We didn't make a quarter drawing of him so that you could get it from the other direction, because it was easy enough to draw on the wood itself. If we had a complicated thing, we would not just draw on the wood, we would draw right here on the wood itself. We usually leave a piece of wood sticking out at the end on any type of wood we do, because that is put into the vise. You don't carve a piece of puppet out all the way around and then try to carve him into shape. He has to have a holding piece, a holding block, which goes out in 4 directions and later on is put into 8 directions, so you can hold it in any of 8 positions to be carved. Am I making myself clear?
Yeah.
Okay. And a wooden, if you don't have a regular wooden carving vise, an ordinary wooden clamp vise, big one, is a good thing to clamp onto your workbench, and you can hold this stuff in any position. Now here you can see this has been bandsawed out this way, and these cuts here, each one of these sort of V-shaped cuts is carved through this way, so there's space, 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 and space in between. And through here is a hole that has been drilled, and there's a very strong piece of rubber that holds it right in position. So the cat can bend its body against the rubber, but ordinarily there's as I say, this rubber piece goes right straight through there, anchored here, and he can get in. If the rubber is at the right tension, you can put him at any position you want, and he will stay there. Or she, I don't know. Now, pay no attention to the rabbit or the duck. They were both in the same movie, but they were not showing how they're made. I think let's get the cat out. Yeah. If you open up a couple of spaces, I'll try and get him as close as How's that? Anything you want to see specially? I'm going to hold him up. I think that'll be better than trying to walk him for you. Feel if you want to.
The way you cut it. I know that nicely. Well, how did you run to the back? What did you attach the chain that went through his neck in the head?
What was inside?
No, what did you attach the chain to in the head?
I ain't the faintest idea. That was so long ago.
A chain holder.
Just something in the middle.
Or those wooden eyes?
Wooden eyes, yes. With the paint is lacquer. Now that's so that if something gets dirty and you have to clean it up, you can clean lacquer as opposed to paint. If it was just paint and paint, then it wouldn't be so good.
What was it you run to the back?
Our chain.
Chain.
So the mouth is on spring here? Mouth is on spring?
Usually the mouth I put on the right side, so my first thing is the hand. This is 10-pound test. Dacron. Some of you didn't get the idea about that he had ribs. He has no ribs. He has just sections of his body. And that was that big shape that you see of the body was sawed out and then sawed into pieces with holes at the bottom and a chain, or I mean a rubber band running through his spine, which holds him together. But there are no ribs at all. It just happens to be so. Now, here, we got another cat in a minute.
Bill,
Yeah.
on the cut between the sections, is that just to get through the saw blades and cut, or is it larger than that?
Tell me again.
The cut between the sections of the cat.
Just saw width, just the width of a saw.
Saw blade.
Yeah, just bandsaw. Here happens to be another cat. This is a drunken cat I used with Ray Bolger. Putting it in our bone. We'll be covering things over all over. Now you want to... I'll try and draw this body for you now on the blackboard and you'll see how it goes. Sawed out of whitewood. Cut through, cut through, cut through, and cut through. All right, this is whitewood. The top view is something like this. I haven't got it in the drawing, but it's something like that. Now, then cut through, cut through, cut through. Then we saw away this piece. These are all taken out. Like that. These pieces are all removed. We drill a hole through here. Here, here. Fasten the rubber band here. Fasten the rubber band here. And make it so that you can adjust it. So if it needs tightening, it can be tightened. Then the front legs are attached here, the back legs there, and the head through a piece of foam rubber up here, and a chain up into the middle part of the head, which I said I had forgotten where it was, and I didn't figure it. However, does that explain better to you now how thing is made by pieces, all right? Now, if you've got any questions at all about this stuff, stick up your hand and ask me and I'll tell you. Okay. Now, this is a rather modern, at least it's my way of doing animals now. But puppets were at one time very, very simple. People, for instance, I've got a puppet here of Chanche from Belgium. Now these puppets are oftentimes, unfortunately, given goiters and bumps on their faces and things like that. Everybody laughs at that. I don't approve that very much, but that's what happened in northern France and Belgium and Holland. Many puppets are deformed. Chanche here was absolutely operated by only one rod and two strings, and the feet had to go where they went. I mean, now, if you're doing like the Orlando Furioso and have a control coming down through the head, the guy like Montel can put those feet anywhere he wants. But believe me, it's very difficult to make a knight walk the way he should and do all the things he has to do with that one rod going down to the top of his head, because his other rod goes to his sword. And these swords are very sharp, well, fairly sharp, but very strong, and they will oftentimes cut the wood deeply if the kids aren't too careful. I'm going to show you a chanche now, just as a sort of a throwback. See, this poor guy has a bump on his head. And just simple legs, can't go anywhere but just forward and back, forward and back, the legs. These are simply, there are hands in here but no arms at all. Hands but no arms. He is a very important character in northern France and Belgium and Holland. I don't know anything about him. He was given to me by the Swedish company, and I've had him around ever since. I thought it would be a good idea to take him to Ames. He's on the table out here. Now, want to feel him?
Yeah.
All right. Just carefully hand him along. You can be the man who carries her. Yeah, push him. This is David.
I won't blow this one.
Now here's a giraffe. You want to hold the side of it? It's nice of you to offer. So. This is a giraffe that was done for a commercial for giraffe bread. We made about, because they gave a long loaf, you know. Mommy, I want some giraffe bread. I want a long piece of bread. That's what commercials were. Anyhow, this body was made of wood and hollowed out. This is foam rubber, and these are all wooden pieces here. You notice that I've balanced the bottoms of the legs so that they're thick enough to carry themselves back and forth. And the head is elastic, the eyes move, the mouth moves, the ears do not move. Anyhow, that is an average size of things I like to photograph. It's a good size. Okay. Now this is from Art Carney Meets Peter and the Wolf. And that's the small wolf. We had about 4 big wolves, good sized wolves, for the trial. And here's the wolf that sneaks through the woods. Can you aim this as the camera? Well, you can't see it.
Did you do the back the same way as you did the cat? Did you cut out?
No, he's got a series of blocks for his back, and then there are rattan ribs that come around and around and around. These are all rattan ribs. They're circles. And there's a big hunk of wood here and another hunk of wood up here for everything to attach to. But in this case, there's a hole through the middle, tight rubber band, and then through here are all rattan ribs of the size they have to be. The head itself, see, I tried him out this way first. He was a small wolf, and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And finally, our big wolf has a head about that big. About so big. And he cries. We have one that cries. There's a big old hot water bottle backstage with water in it. The higher you lift it, the harder he cries. And this here is a dumbbell, which is fitted into a semi-circular hole here and one in the head, so you can see what a head like that can do by moving all that dumbbell. And he's completely covered with cloth. Are you hearing me in the back? You asked me.
Why the difference in the type of ribs for the wolf and the cat?
Because they work better. Now, and the other one, you had the cat. They weren't anywhere near as big as this. I wouldn't have dared tried such big rib hunks on a thing that big, because it would have been too wide on the other one. The cat here, it has a fairly narrow back, and it doesn't differ too much in width from the way it starts to the way it gets back. But here, the difference between this rib and this rib is so large that we wouldn't be able to handle it any other way. Okay, now let's put that back on. Anybody want to ask any more questions about...
That dumbbell type of neck that's into the hollow in that, how is that then fastened? Is there a name?
How is it fastened?
Yes.
It's in the end of each ball is a little cup, and there's a screw eye in there. The screw eye is hooked with a spring. And you can loosen the spring or you can tighten the spring. You do an awful lot with springs. So he can, that limits him incidentally. I could make a much more movable neck on him, but he didn't need it. He doesn't have to move more than about that much. You see my hand? If he had to move that much, I wouldn't use that dumbbell. Yes.
You mentioned rubber bands several times. What kind of rubber bands?
Well, we make some of them. And if we cast them, otherwise you can go to the, around where they sell stationery and things like that, and you find lots of kinds of rubber bands. We find some of them are 3/4 of an inch wide and maybe 1/16 of an inch thick. Otherwise you get little tiny ones. Or you can get several small rubber bands together will do what no individual one that you can find will come out. Yes?
What do the ribs look like when you view them head on?
What does what look like?
The ribs.
The rib?
When you view them head on.
Oh, those ribs are absolutely round rattan.
Are they made out of wood or what?
No, a rattan is the kind of stuff that grows.
Like wicker. Kind of like wicker.
Well, it's a little, wicker is a little stiffer, but rattan grows maybe 18, 20 feet tall, and it's about half as big as your little finger, and you buy it by the, well, if you can find, I don't know whether you get it around here, but most places you can buy rattan in fairly big towns. And I made some giants out of rattan. There's going to be one in the parade. I think he's here. Anybody know where the giant is? I shipped him out here with the stuff that came for the exhibit upstairs, and we'll see if we can find it, because he's supposed to walk in the parade. My son Peter, which is 6'3", was going to be the giant, and so we're going to have to find somebody who is very tall and sticks up quite a bit from the floor. Yes? Oh, Fatty, yes. Stand up, take a bow, please. No? No, come on. Yeah.
What kind of glue do you like to glue your fabric on?
Well, I like fabric cement myself, but it's a little, a lot of people use hot glue. I'm not a hot glue fan, I just don't have to be. You choose what kind of glue you like.
No, I'm just wondering.
Sobo is good. I think Sobo is quite good. It's just like white glue. It's just like Elmer's, except it's thinner. Yes? Oh, I see. Okay. All right, now shall we go into... Somebody back here wants... Oh, yes.
Yeah, what keeps those ribs floating in there? You have rubber band, but...
Well, they're squeezed into holes and glued in. And what keeps them loose? Each one is in a block of wood. Each block of wood, if you look at the top of the block of wood, it has a V in it. Those ribs can't turn because after the holes have been drilled through these pieces. Right? All right. After the holes have been drilled through these pieces, this is the top view of this piece that fits into here. You drill the holes through, and then there's a hole goes through the middle, and once you get those two, get the pressure on the holes with the rubber in them through the center, then these things don't move very far unless the body moves, the hips move or something like that, and it pulls it out a little bit. And these things will each one hold a rib. And the pressure keeps this thing together, except when there's a lot of twist in the body, and then it moves a little bit, and then it comes back. Just like your own spine traps. Now, any questions? No? Yes. Okay. Here's, put that up on the board, please. Well, you can put that up and then turn it around. We'll do both sides of it. Just right on top of it. Here's a little dough, who was made for a beer commercial. He's now in Sweden, in Stockholm. I said he's in the museum over in Stockholm. You can see he's simply made in 3 pieces down through his body. His behind, his middle, and his shoulders. Everything else should be fairly simple because those are all wooden joints. It's a rubber neck, it says, and it's this elastic head. And every joint is marked with a little dot where the axle goes through. His ears are of leather and his tail is of leather. And he's a lot cuter than that. He turned out a lot better than that. That's why I sent him to Sweden. Now let's get another fella here.
You gonna turn that sheet over?
Is it worth turning over, I wonder?
Had an owl.
All right. Catch me up at night. You know, slip in a case like that. Yeah. That's Dave Garraway was the inspiration for that. And he was in a General Motors show. I think he was advertising some kind of spark plugs. Imagine putting an owl to advertise spark plugs. You can take him down if you want to. Now let's see what we got here. Now here's a dog. He practically occupies the same position that the rest of them do as far as the bodies go. Incidentally, anybody who wants to come up and look at any of these, you're entirely welcome. I'll just place them out here on the table for you, and you can ask questions. This is a question and answer session here. Now that dog, Sludgy is his name. He's been given away because I'm not using his size anymore. I had 2 or 3 of those, and you see the ribs in that? Can you count the ribs? See how many there are? 3. All right, we did all right with 3 ribs there, and that top thing that you have over his back is one of his feet. Now, the outside lines on the legs are the cloth lines where he's covered with cloth, and the body is covered with cloth, the neck, and right up to the ears and the tail, so that the wood, as you see it, is inside, and it makes a very nice animal because it's all covered with plush. A lot of times we flock these things. Anybody have a flock machine here? Yeah? Well, we oftentimes, if we have a nice big rubber head, we will flock it. You see that? I think there's one upstairs that's flocked in the window as we go in, that big red cow. And that was done as a birthday card, if you can imagine. The man was very rich and he deserved a birthday card, and so they could afford it. The agency said, we're going to send this card to this man. He runs the Bee Gees, or he did run the Bee Gees until they started suing it. And, well, sometimes that happens too. And yes? Can you hear me now?
What is the backbone for the wolf? What do you attach the rabbit to?
The backbone for the wolf is the same as the other. It's a wooden piece of wood, a square wood, with Vise in it. I'll draw it for you here.
Okay.
Hold that up to me so the syllables don't fall out. This is the principle of the thing. This is the front end, and this is the back end, and this is the backbone, which is actually square in cross-section, a hole down the middle, and a hole through where each rib comes, and the pressure the rubber through the whole thing. The pressure is what actually holds it together. And if his legs go this way and his front legs go that way, they will move a little. There will be a little give in this thing.
Is that a bird's eye view?
That's a bird's eye, yeah. What kind of a bird do you prefer? Huh? Okay. Anyhow, if I were to show you that from the side, it would simply look like this. I'm glad you're inquisitive. Rubber band or a spring, heavy spring. It's very nice to have a spring machine, make your own springs, and you can make anything you want. And you can't go cussing around if you can't find the kind of spring you want, because actually you can very simply make your own springs. I made my own first spring machine, and I finally got a better one. But however, you can do it, and it's quite simple and it's very handy. You use springs on eyes, you use springs on wrists, and all kinds of things. Then you don't have to go out hunting for anything like that. These are the circular ribs. Now looking at that from the end, you've got this end piece, you've got the spine in there, and you've got the ribs like that. And they go all the way through and glue. And there's a hole in here that keeps the spine together. And if you're careful with your glue, it'll last you forever. I think I got another cat over here I'm going to show you in a minute. But since we have been pulled out, she's very handy. Since we're in the birds here, before there were any birds at all, there were pterodactyls, dinosaurs. And here's the pterodactyl and the dinosaur. There you are. That's it. Now that dinosaur actually exists that big as a puppet. And I use him quite a lot. He's a brontosaurus, I believe. The pterodactyl is just a little tiny guy. And he preceded a lot of birds. But there is a ischium, it says. That's the side view of this. And it's, these are spines, and these are ribs that come out towards you. And there is a rope in the neck of the brontosaurus, and a rope that comes all the way out here. Actually, one person can operate him very nicely. And these joints, that's a screw joint that goes into his hip. There's a regular fiber joint. Any of you make fiber joints, trunk fiber joints? Yes. Yeah, that's one of the best things. You can get hold of trunk fiber. And that's a fiber joint. This is the front view of this piece, and that's the side view of the piece. And this is the side view of this. You've got two views here. You've got a view here and here. And same way here. This is a double piece like your radius and ulna, or your tibia and fibula. They were grandfathers of what we're wearing right now on our body. This is a double piece, and there's a single piece. And then here's the clavicle up here at the top. They resemble us, or we resemble them to a certain extent. And these things are all carved out by hand. Incidentally, they were carved out by Louis Miller, who was one of my very best wood carvers. Stayed with me for 25 years. And Carnival of the Animals. Now you may put this down. No, hang it up for a while. Huh? Hang it across. The Carnival of the Animals, I'll tell my story, was written a long time ago by Camille Saint-Saëns for a Swedish princess. And in this story of the Swedish princess, she had a party, a birthday party for somebody, and she asked Saint-Saëns to write the music, so he wrote the music maybe pretty near 100 years ago for Carnival of the Animals. Now, when the words were written for Carnival of the Animals, you know, you've heard it, of course, everybody's done it. Camille Saint-Saëns was elect with Ames, and people pronounced his name Saint-Saëns, you know how that thing goes. Well, anyhow, that didn't happen until Ogden Nash got a hold of it. Ogden Nash had already written the words to Art Connie Meets Peter and the Wolf by that time. But Ed Sullivan called me up one day and said, Bill, he said, Ogden Nash has just written a poem, and he's going to recite it on our show, on the Ed Sullivan Show. But we think it'll be a little dull if there isn't something visual there to see. And do you have an elephant or a giraffe or some animals, or would you make some for the show? And I said, sure, I will, Ed. And I said, but you're going to use the Saint-Saëns music, aren't you? And Ed said, what music? So that's how far away it was. I mean, I went to his musical director and asked him to straighten him out a little bit. But the thing has been done to death now. He would not, during his lifetime, Saint-Saëns, you pronounce it. Okay. He had forbidden anybody to use it after their party. During the party, he said, fine, that's all right for the princess. She paid me for it and everything like that, but it's a piece of junk as far as I'm concerned. And actually, it's one of the best things he's ever done. But at that time, since he'd done it for a birthday party, he said, well, we're not going to do it. So, your party, I'm going to mean your party. Why did you say that? I always blame somebody else. You look guilty. I chose you, that's all. No. So the music lay dormant first until he died, and after he died, everybody jumped on it. And everybody, you know, Noel Coward, everybody has done the Carnival of the Animals. And but I say that we were the first ones to do it with the man who had done the poetry himself, Ogden Nash. And Ogden also wrote the music for, as I told you, for Art Connie Meets Peter and the Wolf. And Sheldon Harnick was just a young composer at that time. After all, he got around to do several other shows like Fiddler on the Roof. You've heard of Fiddler on the Roof? Well, he fiddled that one up there. And they're all, but at that time, he was just helping, his first job was to help out Ogden to make his poetry sound like a song, and it did. It turned out very, very well. Now, any more questions? Or do we go on with the pictures?
Pictures.
Okay. Anything especially that you don't understand, that you want to find out how we did and how we make it work. And incidentally, once I get a thing to work fairly well, I use it again and again. Here's a very simple horse. You can see he contains a lot of the things that these other ones contain. They're made in the same way because it works. Neck is rubber, maybe solid rubber with little cuts in it to make it move easy. And the back, see, the back is practically the same as the other backs, cut through.
Is that Heathcliff?
No, I don't think so. It's about his time, but it's not Heathcliff, no. Heathcliff was pulling a hack the first time he did it in a Broadway show called Nellie Bly. And if you will look upstairs in the exhibit, there are 3 characters from Nellie Bly in prisoner suits, striped suits, in a carriage. And that was Heathcliff's first carriage. And what happened was that Nellie herself got into the back seat and fell off of the coachman pulled a string, and the whole back came over all the way. Came all the way over and captured her. She got out, of course, but I mean, that was the whole thing. That the back of that carriage upstairs is a trap. It just goes boom like that and catches the poor girl in the back. Now, these 2 mice are in several of our shows, a good many of our shows. They're in Winnie the Pooh and a lot of other shows that we've done. And incidentally, they have been voiced by Carly Simon and her sister. As far as mice go, the sisters are equal. Of course, Carly's had a little more publicity, but they're both very lovely girls. Those little shoulder pieces are made of celastic. The ball is probably a plastic or a foam ball covered with paper, and the rest rest of it, the tail is leather, the hands are wood, the feet are wood, the legs are wood, and the attitude is abominable. All right, here's a dragon. I love dragons. I've had a lot of shows with dragons in them. Last show we had down in Busch Gardens, the hero was able to win because he got to the dragon first. He had to get a tooth, and when he got there, he found out that the dragon had dentures, so he got them all in one to go. Now this is a thing that we took to India. We took this dragon. Bob Brown used to take 15 minutes to put him together. I guess that was my fault. Anyhow, there's a spine in there. You see a spine, and then those spines have places that go down through the dragon. And one of the pieces of propaganda we were doing in India was for literacy. So this kid had to learn how to tame a dragon, all that sort of stuff, from a book. He had to learn to put on a piece of armor from a book. And there are his legs. There are the shapes of his body, the different things. Each time there's a stick, I mean a red, going down to the ground there in the middle, that shows what the shape of where the circle up above stands. And there were about seven in the middle that all were held up from below, and this whole dragon had to do his fighting. I want to tell you a little incident too about this show, which differentiates America from some other places in the world. We had a fight between a villain and a hero, which always happens in my shows. And they were riding horses toward each other and beating each other over the head with rubber swords. It was really quite exciting. I was on the villain, Franz Fazekas was on the hero, and we were riding together and whack, and we go to the other side and ride together and whack, and don't hit the microphone, Bill. And then like that, back and forth. And one time he came along with a sword and whacked like that and knocked my head off out into the audience. And I thought, my God, where are we going to get a head for next show? But within 3 seconds, somebody had handed that thing back under our curtain and said, my God, we're not in America anymore. All right, now, if there are no more special... Oh, yeah, I got one more cat to show you. This is a cat that I used to show how they work and how they're made. This thing here doesn't have it. Oh, can you pull that trunk over here a second? I'm going to have somebody take this around. Now here, no, before. Take a look at this control when you're around, because this is my standard control, and I've been using it for years. So, this is, I keep this fellow naked so that he can explain things for me. You can explain a lot more things when you're naked. There, you see his head is working that way. That axle goes all the way through his head. He's got his eye string up here. I usually put that on the right. I put the mouth string on the left. And you can look inside later on and see how these things, how all those actions work. This is a carved elbow, carved hand. They're out here in the front, these two. And here is the foot bar, which is usually put inside of this. Oh, I can't get it hard enough. There we are. There we are. So he can walk this way, but by just handling the foot bar in the front, hands from the front, eyes and stuff here, and then we have a little thing like this on his, bends him over. Do all that sort of stuff. That's a stick that comes down. Incidentally, I invented this about, I hate to tell you how old I am, but it was about that, like, something like that. Will you do this favor for me, sir? Jim Gamble, the control expert, is going to take this around and you can look at it. If you just carry it through the thick of the audience out there. Yeah, that's it. Get up on their lap so they can feel it. That's a nice girl to sit.
Bill,
Yes.
the work drawings you have on the bulletin board, are those the ones that are going to be auctioned off this week?
No, there's some other ones.
Oh, beg pardon.
They're a bit smaller. I mean, these are not suitable for framing. Oh, yes.
What is it, linen joint?
There would.
Is that what you were calling it earlier? Some sort of fabric joint?
Trunk fiber.
What
It's
is
made
trunk
of
fiber?
compressed paper, the same thing that trunks are made of.
Like
Usually black, but you can get it in brown.
That Swedish fiber black. Your drum cases.
Trunk fibers is-
out of that.
It's like masonite, but it's much thinner. You have to get it in a place that makes trunks. Make it in luggage manufacturing places.
Get light white wood if you can. I'm saying the kind of wood I like to use to carve is white wood. That's poplar. And get the light stuff if you can. It's they load you with heavy wood. You've got a heavy puppet, you can get nice light wood, and it'll make a light puppet out. What kind of wood do you use? Carving.
Basswood.
Bass is all right too. It's a little hard to get.
You go out to the back right now. You go one piece.
Salt restaurant.
That's right.
Got a point
Fell. Now you can see in the bottom of him there's a piece of sewing machine belting. Remember, that's a sort of a round belting. Sewing machine belting that goes right through the whole body. That holds him together. Goes through his neck, up into his head, and right down through his bottom. And it's all sewing machine belting, if you can remember that, because it's great to have a lot of it around. Look at his neck and you'll see the belting sticking out.
Yes, but it even exists on the modern ones.
Now, if there are no more questions, any special questions, anybody who wants to come down and look at any of these sketches is free to do so. Buddy, I went and had myself cloned. I mean, I had myself cloned. What were you talking about? That was me too, because it was you? Yeah, that's me too, yeah. Yeah. A lot of nice ladies out here. Oh, a lot of nice ladies, yes. Hello, baby. Hello, baby. Oh, yes, indeed. I suppose the fellas count too, but I don't pay much attention to them. That's the way they go. Lois, are you going to take over and do all the talking, or are you going to let me talk? Oh, come on, come on. Come on! Ow! Son of a... come on. Careful what you say. Well, folks, I just want to say for Bill, because he ain't got a thought in the world. You know what? I said you're a very nice fella. Oh, all right. They pay an awful lot of attention to me. It takes two people to operate me at one time, you know. That's the way it goes. I say, and it's very nice to be a clone sometimes. Very nice you get in on all the secrets and don't have to do none of the work. Well, do you think I should go on letting him act this way?
Yeah, sure.
Y'all know my name?
No.
Leonardo. Leonardo. Can you remember that name? That's what they call me on TV. Leonardo. That's right. That's
Leonardo.
And you know why they call me Leonardo? Oh, some son of a bitch gave me the name too. I don't know why.
You got a city girlfriend?
Have we got a steady girlfriend? Yes, yes. Yes, indeed, yes, indeed, yeah. That's my business. If you want to step in for a minute. Did she call me a hick? I don't see why so many talented girls put themselves out of operation by carrying cameras around on their shoulders when they could be doing something useful. Well, there's my fiddle player. Yes, Devil's Dream she plays. She plays real good. Yes, put up your hand. High hand. Silly. She won't talk to me in public, but boy, oh boy. When she starts playing that fiddle, that's real something. That's real something. Now, there's somebody back there taking the pitch in. I think that we just about exhausted. You go on all you want. I'm not going to say anything. If he ain't going to say anything, I ain't going to say anything. So goodbye, everybody. Too much of that's going to spoil the hell out of me.